So let's talk about setting boundaries. Let's talk about people pleasing. Because I did a couple of posts on people pleasing, and it seems that it's something that a lot of people struggle with. I struggle with it as well, or I used to struggle with it a lot more. I have learned over the years how to rein it in, but there's still times that I find myself saying yes to something that I really don't want to do because I don't want to offend someone. So let's talk first of all about people pleasing. Why do we do people pleasing? And then we're going to talk about the effects of people pleasing and how we can try to control that. Because I guess the truth is that for most people, there will be times when you're going to say yes to something because you don't want to offend somebody, because you don't want the conflicts, because it's just easier. But what we want to really focus on is stopping the part of people pleasing that is especially about getting people to like you. So if you find that your people pleasing is really because you want to be liked, you want people to approve of you, and therefore you do things that actually go against your values, against your principles, or things that are going to make life uncomfortable for you. So a lot of the time with people pleasing, we end up saying yes, and then we regret it. We end up saying, yes, I'll do that, or yes, I'll borrow you this money, or yes, I'll come to this party. And then we spend the next whatever time it is before the actual thing berating ourselves and saying, oh my God, why did I say yes to that? I really don't want to do it. And then the other thing we do is we have people that, and this is one of the dangers of people pleasing, is that if you are a habitual people pleaser, there's the danger that you can be easily manipulated. And I think that's one of the areas that is quite difficult. And that's where, if you're really finding that, then this is something that you really need to get on top of. So what happens with people pleasing is that because we're so eager to help people and to look like a good person, right? We don't want to offend their feelings. We don't want them to not like us. So we say yes. And then what happens is that certain people who are good at manipulating people, recognize that we're easily manipulated. And then what they then do is they will put us in situations where, again, we'll end up saying no, or we'll end up saying yes instead of saying no. And then what happens? We start to resent those people. We're angry, we're frustrated because we've found ourselves in a situation that we don't want to be in yet again. So we then take that anger and frustration and we turn it to the person and we say, I really don't like that person. That person keeps asking me to do this. And now they've caused me to say yes to this thing. But they didn't force you to say yes. You said yes because you wanted to be nice. You said yes because you didn't want conflict. You said yes for whatever reason, right? So the danger, as I said, with manipulators, with people that are good at manipulating other people, is they recognize the tendency that people have for people pleasing. And once they spot that, they're going to use it to their advantage. And it's not just manipulators, it's human beings. If I know that there's a particular friend that every time I ask her for money, she always says yes, I'm more likely to ask her than I would somebody that I'm not sure what they're going to say, or they've said no to me before. So if I know someone is a soft touch, I'm more likely to go to that person. And that's just human nature because we're looking after ourselves. It's survival instinct, right? So the first thing you have to stop doing is blaming other people because you said yes. You have to stop blaming other people. Oh, it's that person's fault. That person made me do it. And one very, very clear sign of people pleasing that I've noticed with myself in the past and with people that are people pleasers around me is that they always end up in a situation where they don't want to be. It's like a loop. It keeps repeating itself. Oh my God, now I've agreed to do this again and I didn't want to do it. But it's like a loop. They keep saying yes and they keep saying, I don't want to do it. And then they say yes again. So the first thing with any kind of, when we're doing the work on ourselves, when we're trying to heal ourselves or be better, is awareness. Once you're aware that you're a people pleaser, you can start to take steps to deal with it. But if you're still in denial, i.e., you're blaming other people, or you think, oh, there's nothing wrong with them, I'm just being nice, but then you spend all your time being resentful and angry and frustrated because I don't have time to do my own thing. I don't have time to take care of me. I don't have time for the things that I need because I'm busy running around for other people. So you have to recognize it in yourself first. So what are the signs? What are the signs that you are a people pleaser? I've written down some stuff so I don't forget some of the stuff. So we talked about saying yes when you mean no. We've talked about going against your values, your principles. A lot of the time, people pleasers will, even at the detriment of their own health or well-being, agree to do things. So you find yourself saying, oh yes, I'll come to this thing, but really that day is meant to be your day off, or that day is meant to be your day that you're resting, or that day is meant to be your day with your family, right? So that's another sign that you're a people pleaser. We've talked about resenting situations or people because you find yourself saying yes again, but it's not really about the people or the situations, about you. You agree to go to places or do things because you want to be, in a clique or, liked by a group of people. But again, this is not really you. So you say, oh yeah, I'll do that. I'll go hiking. Well, you don't like hiking, right? So one of the things about people pleasing that you must be aware of is that it also takes you away from your authentic self. Because if we're trying so hard for people to like us, it's very, very likely that we're going to end up doing the things that they want us to do as opposed to the things that we actually want to do. You're concerned. When you're a people pleaser, you're concerned what people think of you. And when I say you're concerned, because we're all concerned about, whether we like it or not, we do want people to think well of us. But your concern overrides everything. So you're constantly worried. If I say no, what will they think about me? Will they think I'm not nice? Will they think this? Will they think that? You're a people pleaser. The sort of ideal people pleaser, they say sorry that's one of the first signs. They say sorry for everything. Oh, sorry, I wasn't there to open the door. Sorry, I didn't do this. Sorry, I didn't do. They're apologizing all the time. And that's a classic people pleaser, move. Another thing that I should mention is that a lot of people pleasers have low self-esteem. This is where the problem starts. It sometimes starts because as children, we've had to gain the approval of our parents or people around us, our guardians. We've had to do things, before we get any approval. If you have a parent that is very critical, or a parent that, doesn't really say well done, and you have to do something to get that well done out of them. They don't praise you. They don't, they don't say, oh, you're good at this or you're good at that or whatever. It means that because you're used to working hard to get people's approval, this is your default mode. Is if I do something, they will like me, right? So this is also very common with people that have low self-esteem, that it's a way of boosting your self-esteem because you want to be around people, you want to feel needed, you want to be with people who say, oh, thank you for doing that, and thank you for doing that, right? And obviously the problem is not with the other people, it's with you. It's with your low self-esteem, which has to be fixed or worked on. So what are the effects of people pleasing? We talked about anger and frustration, very, very common. You'll have people that have said yes to 10 things, and then away from that, they will rant at all the people that have made them say yes. Or they'll be angry, I don't have time to do my own thing, I don't, da, 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 da. That's usually because you've said yes to things you shouldn't have. People pleasing can cause a lot of anxiety and stress because when I used to do it, I used to find that I would agree to go somewhere and then I don't want to go, but I would say yes, just because I don't want to be seen as or being difficult or blah, 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 whatever it was. And then I'll spend the next week or 2 weeks, whenever it is, the lead up to whatever it is I've agreed to do, anxious because I don't want to do it and stressed. Like, oh, how do I get out of it? I'd spend all that time worrying about how I could get out of it, or, what would happen if I went. So this people pleasing can lead to a lot of anxiety and stress, especially when you're in situations where you are doing things at your own detriment. So my scenario, it was fine. It wasn't like anything was going to happen. But there are people that actually borrow people money to the extent that they're actually struggling with debt because they're so busy saying yes to everybody else. There are people that run their own health, physical, mental, or emotional health into the ground because they're so busy coping with other people's stress. So it can cause a lot of anxiety and stress. The other thing is your willpower, your ability to say yes, no, is going to be depleted, because every time you are faced with someone asking you for something and you feel, oh, I can't say no, then you're going to be saying yes all the time. And the more you do that, the more it becomes a habit. And that's not a good thing, because you need to have the willpower to be able to choose what is good for you, what you want to do and what you don't want to do. And I've spoken about being open to manipulation. That's very common. And the lack of authenticity, because we're not being ourselves. We're lying and saying we want to do things we don't want to do. So what can we do about people pleasing? The main thing is we need to learn how to set boundaries. Boundaries protect you, and they give the people around you an idea of what to expect. And you also know what to expect from them. So boundaries are the first thing. Being clear about what you will accept and what is not acceptable. The next thing is learning how to say no. And when you say no, say no. Don't say maybe. Don't say I'll come back to you. Don't say I have to think about it. Because when you say, if you see the post that I posted earlier on today, when you say maybe, the person thinks, oh, there's a chance. And probably you said maybe because you don't want to say no, but you don't know how to say no, right? So you say, oh, maybe, let me think about it. And they're thinking, oh, I've got a chance. And then when you've completely forgotten about it, they'll come back to you and say, so what about that thing I asked you? And then you're all flustered, right? So just learn to say a clear no. And the problem people have with no is that no is such a negative word. And sometimes we're so scared of saying no, we say everything else but no. But, a no is a complete word. It's a complete, I'm sure you've seen this. It says no is a complete sentence. You do not need to explain yourself all the time. Of course, there will be situations where you need to explain why you are saying no. And that's up to you. You can decide to just say, no, I'm sorry, I can't do it. End of, and change the subject. You can elaborate if you want to. But remember that if the more you elaborate and make excuses, the likelihood of the person coming back and saying, but what about, or, what if we do it on another day? Or what if I come to your house instead? That kind of thing. So be very careful when you're doing your elaboration that all you're doing is saying, thank you for inviting me, or thank you for asking me, but I'm not able to do it at this time. End of. Right? So it's very important we learn how to say no, how to say no with kindness. Because what some people do is they bottle up all their resentment, and then when they finally say no, it's an explosion, and then they go off on a rant. We don't want that, right? Because then that causes more conflict, which is what you were trying to avoid in the first place. So learn to say no with empathy. Learn to say no tactfully. I mean, there are people who do not accept no, and those people just need a no, a firm, clear no. But the average person, even if they're going to be slightly offended, will get over it if you say nicely. And one of the ways that you can do that, I heard this on Jay Shetty's podcast, and I thought it was very useful, is to always preface your no with gratitude. So before you say no, so thank you so much for asking me, right? Because when we start with gratitude, it's always going to be a positive, sentence at the end of that, because it's very hard to go from thank you for asking me, but F off. You're not going to do that. So thank you for asking me, but I'm not able to do it at this particular time. And the other thing about dealing with people pleasing, you need to manage your expectations. Sometimes we place the load on people. We say, why do they ask me? They should know that I don't want to do it. People can't read your minds. They can't read your mind. So you need to tell them you don't want to do it. And finally, always wait and stop. When someone asks you for something, you're not sure, don't feel you have to give an answer. Can I come back to you later? Can we do this tomorrow? Can I have a chance to think about, my commitments and see if it's something I can do? Thank you for asking me, but I'm not able to do this at the moment. So there are lots of different ways that you can say no, but just say it nicely, say it kindly, say it with empathy. But at the end of the day, make your no a no if you want to get out of people pleasing. I hope that's helpful. Take care. See you soon. Have a good day. Bye.